Order for the Committee of the Whole, March 17th at 6:30 p.m. Let's start with roll call, please.
Paul Dwyer.
Here.
Travis Schulte.
Here.
Richard Harrington.
Present.
John Glenn.
Here.
Sean Zavinsky. Mitchell Kale.
Here.
Patrick Devine.
Here.
Nellie Pater. Here. Dean Peterson.
Here.
Thank you. We'll move on to the first item, the approval of the minutes from February 17th.
Move to approve.
Second. We have a motion to approve in a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let's start with the reports. City Clerk.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of updates. You have my written report in the packet, but in-person absentee voting does start tomorrow on the 18th in the city clerk's office, Tuesday through Friday this week and Monday through Friday the following. Reminder, the April election is April 1st out to Recreation Park or the fairgrounds. If anyone wants to come out, it seems like we'll have a little bit better weather this year than last year. We had a snowstorm at this time, so we're glad to see it warming up a little bit. Hopefully we'll get a great turnout. Other than that, just working on helping with the audit, and there's a little turnover in the city, so working on helping with recruiting efforts. Does anyone have any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, the Treasurer's Report.
I guess just first and foremost, we just finished up our training with the department heads on reviewing and training with My Viewpoint, just getting everyone kind of used to the new program. And we're starting to work with separate teams now and kind of get everyone outlined to it, so we're all using the same systems across the board. And working next with Invoice Cloud, basically our credit card company, so then the city no longer receives credit card fees for just intended purpose. Then just a note for policy for the last part is we're art as such now, so they do basically their soft audit right now. So today they're collecting everything they need from both water and sewer in the city itself. And then tomorrow they're going to start first thing in the morning from 7 to 8 o'clock and just go along for the next 2 weeks. It might end early, it might go a little later, depends on what they find. Any questions?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Okay.
We're going to see budget comparisons next month.
If they have everything compiled, yes.
Thank you. Next item, Parks and Rec.
Good evening.
Evening.
Good evening, Joe. Parks and Rec, nothing major from last month's report, just working with the different snow removal and so forth, and then just waiting for things to get thawed out and then start moving on spring projects, hopefully sooner than later. Recreation programs, finishing up our winter activities. We have some nice special events at the recreation station. We had one this afternoon for St. Patrick's Day for tots, and then we have an Easter egg hunt coming up on April 19th. We're working with the Lions Club again to host pancakes for the parks coming up in May, like we did last year for our grand opening, so it'll be 1 year, time's flying. But with that being said, we had 12 weekend rentals this past month of March for birthday parties, so a lot of our rentals is doing great there at the recreation station. So it's been a great asset to our community. Aquatic Center, just waiting for things to thaw out. We get things cleaned up here this spring and working on staff inquiries for the coming summer. Recreation Park, you can see the activities we have going on in February, March, and April. A lot of activities this time of year for rentals in community groups. And then also finishing up the hockey season with the Woodsmen. Unfortunately, they lost last Friday in the playoffs, so they're wrapping up their season. Toma Youth Hockey's wrapping up all their youth programs, high school, so we're moving on to the Wisconsin Blue Devil select group that practices and hosts programming out of the Ice Center here in the spring. And that goes through mid-May, and then we'll get it turned over for all our summer activities. So other than that, any questions or concerns?
Question, Joe.
Sure.
Are you responsible for the restaurant facility or the bathroom facilities down there by Gillette Park?
Correct, yep. Well, where can I go ahead?
Somebody needs to change the clock, time on the clock.
Yep, and that happens every year. Initially when we had it, it was supposed to change automatically. Unfortunately, with the fire next door, when the power went out last year, we got to go in there and do it all manually and computerized, so we'll take care of that. I'll mention it to crew that they better get on it this week, so, thank you. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Next report, Public Works and Utilities. Kurt?
Good evening. Street Department, main thing that we're working on right now is coordinating with the sewer department, cleaning out storm sewers and inlets. Toro has started to move in trailers onto the city's storage site on East Manawa. If you remember, that contract was approved maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago. Positive news for salt usage. This year we've used roughly 275 ton. Our most that we've used in a year is 750. So we're expecting a 20,000 reduction to that line item for 2026. Street sweepers out and frost is coming out of the ground. We have a number of signs that have been struck throughout the year, and due to the frozen ground, we're able to get to those now. Road bans went on last Monday, and it's definitely an indication of the frost coming out as well. Sewer department's normal, average flow of 1 million gallons per day, and we did have some fair chemical feed pumps that were replaced as a small project out there. The water department, as of writing this, we did have 6 properties running for cold temperatures. We take spot temperatures throughout the community in those areas that we've known to been prone to freezing up. So we had 6 properties running just to avoid that freezing. By now, I haven't talked to staff, but I'm pretty sure that they'll be taken off that list and returned to normal. We did install 2 more security cameras at the water department. We had an incident there, and trying to keep that from happening again. And we're waiting on parts for the generator repair at well 12. For the Lake Committee, their next meeting is in this room Thursday night at 5 o'clock. Main discussions again will be vegetative treatments for the lake, along with some other hopefully solutions. We have an event coming up with NASA for anniversary. So a lot of topics out there, great discussions from our partners in the DNR. So if you're able to attend, it is online or come in person. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Next report, Police Department. Assistant Chief.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to start by, those that don't know, Chief Holm has indicated he plans on retiring. His last day will be, I believe it's April 18th with the Police Department. I wanted to thank him for 25 years of service to the community and to the men and women of the Police Department. We have one in the academy. He's doing very well. We got feedback from them. His name is Caden Kaufman, for those who don't know. We will be picking up our K9 from Canada next month. We will then have 2 dual-purpose K9s working for the city. And a reminder that June 13th, we have our K9 golf outing fundraiser at Hiawatha. We'll do some more public relations stuff with that, but just a reminder. Any questions? Okay, thank you all.
Thank you. Next report, Tina, Chamber and Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Good evening, everyone. From the Chamber CDB office, we have a couple things going on that I want to put on your radar. Our Best of Toma survey ends on the 21st. We have surpassed our engagement for last year and have about, I believe, 2,000 responses so far. So it's been very popular. We're able to use the results of this survey then throughout the year in various ways as well. And we've seen a lot of engagement from the area businesses, particularly restaurants, bars, hotels, using it to promote their businesses during the peak seasons. I was able to attend the Governor's Conference on Tourism last week. That went very well. We had a shout out to some of the work being done in our county, so that was exciting. We also have the Monroe County Economic Development and Tourism Conference coming up April 10th and 11th, and I believe you can still register for that if there's interest there. We've been pulling a lot of the heavy work to put that together, so looking forward to a good conference. We did last week have our candidates forum. We had 3 school board candidates that were able to attend and 3 from the city council, so thank you to those that participated in that. That is up on our Facebook and Greg Hagan's YouTube page. So thank you to Greg for helping film that and broadcasting it. Thank you to Cranberry Country Lodge and Toma Rotary for co-hosting that with us. We booked our final band for Downtown Thursday Nights this year, so as soon as we get the contract signed, we'll make those announcements. You'll recognize some popular names that we've had in the past and then some new names that we have not had before as well. I guess we haven't been here since our banquet, so thank you to those of you that were able to attend that this year. Our numbers were a little smaller than normal, but we also had really, really great feedback from a lot of the participants in it. We also got huge compliments from our friends in the Sparta area that struggle to get the kind of engagement and relationships that we have on this side, and they took it back to their board how much support Toma has for community events. So thank you for that. The last 2 more things. We have Business After 5 this Thursday at Three Bears Resort in Warrens. And then we are working to put together, obviously we all know how prevalent fraud and embezzlement is in this, not only our region, but everywhere. So we're working with some of our area partners to put together some lunch and learn sessions to talk about that and how it's impacting our areas. So look for those dates to come. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, Tina. So, moving on to the general portion of the agenda, item number 7, special beer and wine permit application by Monroe County Support Services for the Budweiser Dairyland Supernational Truck and Tractor Pull on June 26th through the 8th, 2025.
Move to approve.
Second.
So we have a motion to approve in a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, item number 8, special beer and wine license application by Monroe County Support Services for Monroe County Fair on July 23rd to 27th, 2025.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve in a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, Monroe County Support Services extending hours of operation at the Monroe County Fair Beer Garden on Friday, July 25th and Saturday, July 26th at Recreation Park.
When did it go till before?
Nope. Got to have a motion first. Discussion after. Motion second, then discussion.
So we're looking for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
So we have a motion to approve in a second. Any further discussion?
What were the hours prior to this?
Oh, yeah, you bet.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So the motion was.
A motion by Richard, second by Mallory.
Thank you.
And now we're moving to, Mitch was asking what the hours were before.
I believe it was till midnight.
Yes, we actually have it in our code of ordinances, so the only way to move outside of that would be by special appointment or approval through the city council, which is why they come to council to ask for this each year.
And
So
how long did they want it to go to?
I-
Do you know?
The report says
1
1
p.m.
p.m.
They have,
They-
it would be one
For that
additional
one.
hour.
Does the police department have a problem with it at all?
They have not brought it to my attention that it would be an issue in previous years when it was
Okay.
approved.
We have approved it with no issues that I'm aware of.
So, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ordinance creating Division Number 3 of Article 7 regarding Toma Convention and Visitors Bureau. Did you want to speak on it first, or just questions about it? Did you want to explain it? Oh, So I need a motion first, okay.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve
Second?
and a second. Any further discussion?
And what does it entail?
So the Convention and Visitors Bureau is made up of a set number of hoteliers, restaurants, alderpersons. We're the only committee that has a setback year where you have to step off for a year before you can renew your term on that. What our hoteliers were wanting is to remove that 1 year takeoff so that they can serve continuous terms. When we brought that forward, we realized that the ordinance had been removed from the Code of Ordinances, and believe it should be put back on there because it is appointed by the mayor. So that's the background to that conversation.
I have a hard time right now, but from what I understand, that you are looking to take off the 1 year member extension, right?
The part where they have to step off for a
For
year.
a year.
Okay.
So currently it states that, like if you're on there, Dean's on there, whoever, that you'd have to take a year off before you could get back on there. Where the hoteliers are wanting to remove that and be like all the other committees and serve back-to-back terms.
Okay, so on the appointment side for the mayor, he will still appoint?
Yes, yep,
Okay, so you're just looking to remove the 1 year and extend?
remove that 1 year.
They can serve consecutive terms.
Correct.
Without a 1 year absence.
I was just worried about the mayor's role. I didn't want to...
We don't want to change that. We want the mayor to still be able to appoint those members,
Yeah.
just in back-to-back terms. The other thing is, somehow it got removed from the ordinances, and we need it put back in so that he's still given that authority.
Right, and that's where I was gonna just mention is, as far as our ordinance is concerned, we wanna make sure it gets put in there to show that the mayor does have the authority to make sure to do those appointments for that particular.
And that's what I was...
Yep,
I
that,
just wanted to
we're trying to make
Yep,
it
thank you.
official and make it into the law.
Good.
I think we're good.
So we have a motion and a second. So any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, the Facade Improvement Grant Program Application 1-2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
So we have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay?
Motion carries. Item number 12, concession agreement Winnebago Park Kayak Rental Program.
Move to approve.
So we have a motion to
Second.
approve. We have a second. Any further discussion?
A question for Joe.
Sure.
At the end of this contract, do the kayaks and the station become your city property? Or
No.
reverts back to them?
Revert back to them unless we want to go into our agreement for 5 years or throughout the contract, we can always, oh, sorry about that. It reverts back to the company.
Okay. And renegotiate the payment agreement after 5?
Correct.
So any further discussion? So we have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 13, resolution for payment of monthly bills.
Move to approve.
Second. We have a motion to approve and a second by Mitch. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 14, award of Lake Toma 4-bay cleaning bid.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
So we have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion?
How many bids were there on this?
1.
I was confused trying to read through this.
2 people took out plans and there was 1 bid.
Do you feel that?
Say that again, Kurt.
2 people took out plans, but only 1 person bid it.
You feel the bid was fair that we only got one, or do you think it's?
Given the specialty of this, yes.
Who was the other company that took out plans?
Green Tech, I'm really not familiar with them. I actually just saw them down in Union Center. They're doing a small project on the golf course. I think they just probably pulled the plan because they're in the neighborhood, and I don't really know their qualifications.
And we know Gerke does a lot of work for us, and they're usually pretty fair with us.
Correct.
So what about, what's the deal on the 10%?
Yeah, so there's an alternate bid for a deduct of $10,000 to delay or open up, however you want to look at it, delay the completion date. So right now it's set for the end of this year. If we take the $10,000, which it would cost us $10,000 less, the completion date would move to December 31st of 2026.
Is this a project we want to get done, or is it worth 10,000 to get it done, or?
My opinion is it's not enough to warrant that. All the indications that we've received from people that use the lake and travel back in that area, that it's time to get this done, and delaying it really could impact the lakes more so than what it is.
Because the silt trapping, filling is going into the lake, whereas we get it cleaned out, that'll fill up again, right?
Yeah, there's a certain portion of the silt trap where the river, where the river comes into it, that's really getting clogged, bottlenecked, all those things that you would want to say about that. So, and it's impacting how that design of that sediment trap is working.
And if they don't get it done by the end of this year, then what happens?
There's penalties in place, as all, I guess it would be a normal contract, where we can enforce penalties if needed.
I think I made the motion originally, and I'll just confirm my motion without the alternate bid. That's what we want.
Yeah, we would definitely want a decision one way or the other from you guys.
So, the only question I have is, it says here that you will, this will be a unit price contract? So does that mean, per line item will be bidded on, not bidded on, but by cost wise, right?
Correct. In the packet, there's a copy of the bid
Yeah.
with the unit items. We did craft this to take away a lot of that what if. These are lump sum bid items, so typically you would not see an increase on those. It's not to say that it can't happen, but the likelihood of it is very low. So what you see as a bid price really should be what the final number will be. We would have to ask for something out of the contractual agreement to incur more of a cost than what's there.
That's just kind of a boilerplate statement they put in.
Correct.
So what you're saying is there's no per cubic yard or so many square feet of material remove cost adjustment?
Correct. There is none. It's a lump sum. The estimate for the yardage has been taken into account into the bid prior to the bidding. So that contractor does their due diligence, verifies what we have for numbers in there, and that's what they're bidding off of.
How much are they thinking we have in it for yardage?
It was, as I remember, about 8,000 cubic yards.
Question, Kirk, who determines completion is adequate?
City and engineer. Yep.
This bid doesn't include any engineering costs, right?
No, it does not.
What are our engineering costs so far and anticipated to the future as far as compliance?
I don't have that number for the engineering right off the top of my head, but I can have it for you tomorrow night.
Just out of the lake budget.
Correct. And I also did put in some of the other costs that we anticipate for the year. Just to make sure that we're looking at Golden Sands. They're doing a survey for us at $7,900. Also, Thursday night, we're looking at Solitude. It's a management company of possibly doing a 15-acre vegetative management for the lake. That would be roughly $11,250. We have a dam inspection for $69.50 this year, and we have an insurance deductible that we'll have to cover for $1,000. So we're getting close to running our reserve account down to nothing. So I just wanted to make sure that that's included in there. We may have to forego that option of the Solitude that I talked about, but those are discussions that will be brought back after the Lake Committee has time to make a recommendation from that. But as of right now, we have enough money to do this project in the budget. So.
Was there a recommendation to approve this too from the Lake Committee, or?
Well, the awkward part is the bidding was done on February 26th. We have typically 45 days to have that contract executed before those prices are basically null and void. So the timing did not work out for the Lake Committee to get this bid and look at it. They've really done that in some regards already because it falls within the budget parameters. The only kind of question is that $10,000 deduct. Would have been nice to have a recommendation from them on that. But I think in talking to the members and the chairperson Lott.
Chairperson, can we get his opinion on it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in general, all the discussions that are out there is everyone really feels that this needs to be done.
You don't have to add a lot?
Yes, so as Director Arity has already said, this was approved by the Lake Committee to do this silt trap clean out. It's actually been in the mill for the last couple of years because we did it, I think around 2020, we did like half of it, and it did not, we did it with long stick backhoe and they could only reach halfway across this trap that's out on the southwest side of the lake. So they only got half of it, so it filled in quickly. So we've been looking at it and we need to do it as soon as possible. So we have approved it and it is within budget. So in that sense, I think it's approved by the committee. We did, as the Director already said, we did not meet since the bid itself was let and received. So we did not okay the actual bid, but we've okayed the project if it comes in on budget, so to my.
And what about the $10,000? You think we agree that we need to get it done?
It needs to be done. We're actually behind schedule on it, so I'm pretty sure. I can only speak for myself. I have to be careful. I can't speak for the whole committee. But I'm assuming that we would have recommended to forego the alternate and get it done as soon as possible, because it's already well in need of being
I
done.
agree with that. And I'll stick with my motion that I made to not include the alternate bid. And if you want to change your second?
No, I'll remain with my second.
With me changing?
Right.
Yeah.
So they both agree.
Yeah.
So from what I understand, the $10,000 is not going
An
to
option.
be coming up.
Not an
No.
option.
And it seemed awfully small on a bid of that size.
I thought so too.
And to give them a whole nother year.
No,
So
we can't wait that year.
Right.
You said it was last dredged in 2020?
So, don't hold me to the exact year. Do you remember, Director?
I think that's about right.
Because everybody asked, well, is there some kind of schedule for this? Because it was engineered into the project back in, what, 93 when it was dredged. It must have been designed in. And we've been feeling it out all along, and weather is changing, storm events are changing all the time. We get bigger events. So there is no real schedule, but we've thought, 5, 7 years or something, and I think we're probably off track on that. It's probably going to be 3 to 5 max, not 5 to 7, even when we clean the whole thing out, because in order to make it work well, we want it to collect as much sediment. It's the large sediment that this trap is collecting, not nutrients, because nutrients is dissolved right into the water, so that flows in, but we want the large sediment, so we want it to work well. So I think we need to keep it cleaned out on a more regular basis. So we're probably going to be building that into our budget. Unfortunately, that will be a little more tax dollars. It's not general. We have our own taxation ability, but.
The only question for Lamont is, Kurt, is the lake going to be down at all where people won't be able to use it?
No.
Okay.
No, it does not
It'll be
affect the
done
lake
with a
whatsoever.
drag line or an excavator, large excavator. I would assume it's gonna be used with a drag line, right?
I can talk.
Okay.
So,
Any other questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I came.
So as Lamont indicated, we only got half the material out last time. That was with a hydraulic means backhoe. So what we've done is recommended to the contractor to build basically a bump out so the backhoe can get down there and reach further out in a radius. They don't have to do it that way. They can do it with a bar or a hydraulic dredge, but they have to get the required material out of there. So we learned from the last time, and we put things into place to try to make sure that we're getting what we want. We weren't overpaying last time because we were paying per yard. So we've changed that approach. We put it to a lump sum, but we will be requiring a certain amount to come out of there. So,
Do you know how much we took out last time and how much it cost?
about 4,000 yards, and I do not remember the number.
I think it was around 150. So they did a half job.
Basically. Yep.
Well, we have a motion to approve in a second. Any further discussion?
You know why the bid for erosion control was so much higher than estimated?
Typically,
The estimate was 15,000 and it's coming in at 37.
Sure. As a previous estimator, a lot of companies put in a higher number for mobilization and erosion control. Those are the first two items that you're going to be able to get paid for because those are the things you need to do right away. Before you move any dirt, you have to put the erosion control in and mobilize. So sometimes people put a heavier weight on those items that you get paid for right away to start the project.
We have a motion to approve in a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay,
Motion carries. Looking for a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn in a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. 7:04.
This meeting to order at 6:30 on Tuesday night, March 18th. We'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we start, I want to remind all council members to turn their mics on.
we'll start with roll call.
Paul Dwyer.
Here.
Travis Schulze.
Here.
Richard Arrington.
Present.
Sean Zavisky. Here. John Glenn.
Here.
Mitchell Kale. Here. Patrick Devine.
Here.
Nellie Pater. Here. Dean Peterson.
Here.
Quorum check.
Okay, is there anyone, we have a quorum, so is there anyone desiring to appear before the council? Come forward, state your name, address.
Can I talk right now?
Wait till you get to the mic.
Okay. My name is Vaughn Keel, and I have some thoughts on this Bailey property I'd like to share. My main issue is how in the future, well, I'll start out, everything that happens in the city of Toma as far as their advancing affects all the surrounding towns. And in the future, how can the city afford to lose the income from all the houses, whether taxes, people spending money, that would have been built on the Bailey property? That's the main issue right there I have.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Vaughn. So we'll move on to the mayor. So we have a mayoral memorandum, and I'm going to read part of it. The mayor and the president of the city council, acting in accordance with their duty to the city as defined in reference 1 through 3, respectfully directs each member of the city council for the city of Toma, Wisconsin, to attend a parliamentary procedure training. The intent of this training is to ensure that the city of Toma conducts public meetings in accordance with local and state and federal laws, ordinances, directives, and regulations. This training will use the formal lecture method of instruction to communicate the requirements of the elected officials, particularly those designated as chairpersons or presiding officers over bodies holding public meetings. The requirement that their position demands in accordance with references 1 through 5. This training will also communicate the industry standards codified in reference 6, which seeks to impart on each member of the governing or appointed body the standards of personal and professional conduct and decorum during a public meeting. It is the intent of the mayor and the president of the city council that this training will be conducted in a manner that affords the members of the city council to ask questions and learn. Each member is encouraged to participate in a manner that fosters a collaborative and team-based environment amongst the council. It is our duty as sworn officers of this great city to ensure that we conduct our meetings in a professional manner. This training is all about making us a better team. To ensure this training is conducted in an effective and efficient manner, the mayor delegated authority to the city clerk to facilitate this training for the members of the city council by scheduling members for training, delivering the required training, and scheduling any outside agencies or resources that the city clerk deems necessary to accomplish the intent of this training. The date of this training will be Thursday, 3 April of 25 at 5:30 p.m. in the council chambers. To ensure this training is completed in accordance with the intent of the mayor and the president of the city council, the mayor delegates the authority to the chairperson of the senior executive team to supervise the implementation of this memorandum and the execution of the training. The chairperson shall serve as a point of contact for this manner. As mayor and president of the city council, we sincerely thank each member of the city council for their service to our great city. As leaders within the community, they have stood up, raised their hand, and made the commitment to bear the immense responsibility and duty that comes with being an elected official. We also thank them in advance for their compliance with this memorandum. Thank you. Paul Dwyer and John Glenn. So we'll move on to the second portion of the discussion is on department director reports. As of the April meeting, we are going to have a written report from each department. department heads will be here to answer any questions the council has, but we're going to try to streamline our council meetings so that it doesn't take so much time with each one coming up and giving their reports. So we'll see how this works, and we'll move forward from there in our decision-making process on how we're going to handle it. So we'll move on to the senior executive team monthly update.
Point of order.
Oh, direct. Sorry about that. We still have to have the director's reports.
We had discussion about whether we're going to have them or so forth. I guess the question I would ask first is what is the purpose of those reports? We get a report from the department heads that comes on our laptops. And recently we've had reports. You see my written report, are there any questions? My personal feeling is that the purpose of those reports is to inform the public via this communication. That's where I think the reason we should have reports, and they should be in more detail than they are at the present time in some instances. That's my feelings.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor, would it be appropriate to seek the opinion of the set team director on how he feels we should handle monthly reports? I would be curious what their thoughts are.
Nick?
Good evening, everyone. So the city staff is prepared to deliver the reports in as little or as much detail and in whatever forum, via whatever medium you all determine is appropriate. There are advantages and disadvantages to the way we do it now. There's advantages and disadvantages to changing it. I think one of the things for this discussion item that is being brought up is tonight we may have a very long meeting. We have 4 agenda items on closed session. 2 months ago, we had 1 item on the agenda for closed session, and that went to 9 o'clock at night. There have been times where closed session of this body has gone until 11:15 p.m. at night. So an advantage to the written report format may be that we are spending more time on the legislative affairs, which a public meeting are designed for. So we can communicate, detail in the reports in a number of different ways. We can only discuss and vote on matters in one way, and that is during a public meeting in either open or closed session, depending on Wisconsin state statute. So really, it comes down to the governing body, how you feel as decision makers that have to debate policy and strategy and vote on that, how you want to use your time when you're here. As a reminder, you can only discuss policy and vote on it at these meetings. We can do the department reports in a number of different ways. We can email it, we can hang it on the website, we can hang it on the Facebook page, we can present it here orally, we can present it here written, we can present it here written and orally. I think what's important is that you all feel and in tune with the constituency, that you feel there's transparency, that the department directors have the ability to communicate needed information. There is also the issue of, in our municipal code, we have several commissions, committees, and bureaus that you all voted on to establish and the mayor appoints members to have that directed telescope on a department, because those members of the appointed body may have particular technical or subject matter expertise, and those department directors present very detailed reports at many of those meetings as well. So I think if there's ever a concern about transparency and what information the public is receiving, the staff is ready to provide whatever transparency and information is needed. I think it really comes down to, in April, we will likely have a very long meeting. And so, it's a good discussion item to talk about how you as decision makers receive information, how you process that information, and as we go into the late hours of the evening, are we being efficient with our time so that we're making good, informed decisions with a fresh mind instead of reaching fatigue, covering information that can be covered in other mediums. Again, you can only discuss issues as a quorum in session. We can present the information however you want and whatever you want. Does that answer the question?
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for me while I'm up here?
What do you think, can you hear me on this?
Yes.
What do you think about, like, kind of projects-wise, just kind of go through Public Works projects, Parks and Recs projects, if they have projects, like, we don't need to know, I guess, like, everything that's rented out for Parks and Rec, but maybe if they have a project coming up, they can present that, and like a progress update on that while that's being done. Same thing with street projects, lake projects. I think that's important, because then that goes with Richard's point, you know, it gets out to the public via Hagan, and then we, as a body, at that time also get to update on that as well. So maybe not just as a detailed update from everybody, more of a higher level on project-based.
And I think if there's specific projects, those are things we can maybe add as a specific agenda item. Again, the mayor under Chapter 62 executes Chief Executive Officer authority and directs the department heads to fulfill these reports. Under Municipal Code 2-65, the senior executive team is actually charged with delivering written and oral reports on the departments. And so it really comes down to however you guys see fit as a governing body to make these decisions. The things that you're referencing right now, Alderperson Kale, you know, are covered again in the Parks and Rec Commission, Public Works and Utilities Commission. So I think it's also about establishing clear roles and responsibilities for the bodies that have been established. But as city employees, you know, speaking as the chairperson has said, we default to what the governing body wants, and we always err on the side of transparency for the public.
I just try to be the best of both worlds, because I see Richard's point with it being kind of a broadcast thing for letting our constituents know what's going on. But I also understand on the aspect of time frame and being, you know, good with our time.
Right.
And more legislative side of things.
Correct. And to be transparent about that, you know, again, from my perspective, we will probably go very late tonight, and I do mean very late, and we will probably go even later in April if you look at the agenda items coming up. So it's just something to think about how we want to manage our time in the public meeting.
Question for Mayor. Do you foresee the opportunity for each department head still to come to the podium and answer questions, or is it going to be, here's the report, does anybody have questions on any of them?
No, what we had talked about was this. We'll have a written report, it's in the agenda packet. It's the alderperson's responsibility to read their packets. If there's questions that they have, the department heads will be here, and you can ask any question you would like pertaining to each department. We were just looking to streamline it a little bit, to not have to call each one up individually. If there's a question that any alderperson has that they feel is important to bring out into the public eye, they have that opportunity at council to address at that time. So it's going to take some homework on our part, but that's our job. That's what I feel our job is. Everybody should be reading their packet. Everybody should know what's in their packet. And it doesn't take much at all to make a checkpoint or a note to say, I want to bring this up. So I just think it's a better way for us to advance the meeting without wasting time hearing the same thing over and over again. So I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but we have to find a way to streamline our meetings a little bit so it doesn't get so drawn out and long.
Yeah, I don't think anybody here needs a department head to read what we're looking at in front of us, but I just want to make sure we have the opportunity to
Absolutely.
maybe dive a
You
little
will.
deeper if we have to.
You will have the
Thank you.
opportunity to ask questions of each department head. They will be here. But we just don't have to have them come up and do an oral report.
I have a question though. When the department heads come before the council, of course it's televised by Hagan, and they go over their reports, and we ask questions, and sometimes they go over things other than what's on the report, you know, we ask a question. I just want to make sure that the public gets to understand and gets to know what the city is doing, you know, as far as transparency. Because I hear a lot from the public that the city is not being transparent. And that's the concerns, and that's what they really get annoyed at. So having the department heads come in here and, you know, with the report and go over each report, what they did for the month and how much money they spent, it's transparent for the public to understand what we are doing as, you know, as a public, city entity. So that's.
Yeah, I would also.
All you know, transparency to the public is my concern. I want that to happen.
Absolutely. I would also submit that if you read Wisconsin State Statute, Chapter 62, Organization of City Government, it talks about the different bodies and commissions we have specifically to accomplish what you're talking about, public participation and community engagement on those specific department-related items. So for any members of the public listening or watching this, I would highly encourage public participation at more meetings than just Common Council and watching on Hagan. Those are all open public meetings where they go into much more detail than we cover here. And so we could completely eliminate the department reports from here, and you will still have more information at these other bodies. But that's not what we're talking about, I think, is eliminating the reports from here at all. As the mayor described, you would still have the written reports, and maybe just trying to figure out how when we have 4 items on a closed session agenda that are going to take probably several hours tonight and even longer in April, how to do the things that you can only do in this public meeting. You can only discuss and vote in these public meetings. Does anybody have any more questions for me on this? If not, I'll bow out of this discussion.
Thank you.
So I guess what I'm asking is just, let's try it for a month, see how it works. If it's not what we intend to have as a complete body, as a council, we can always revert back. But I just ask a little patience and a little help in maybe making this move forward a little bit, see how it works. If it doesn't work well, we can always go back. We can always make changes. We can do just exactly what we have been doing for the past several months. But there's a lot of important things that are going to be coming up on our agendas, and we need to make useful time of the time we are here. So with that, is there any other discussion that we need to have on this before we move on?
Just one more quick thing.
Go ahead.
There's a couple of departments that only give oral reports monthly. I think CVB, the library, I think those are only 2 that come to mind. Will they provide written reports going forward?
Yes.
Okay. Oh. Thank you.
They will also provide written reports. And Irma says they're going to be long.
I like there's a narrative story form.
But let's just try it for a month and see how it goes, and then if we need to tweak it a little bit, make changes, we can do that. We can do that as a body.
Good catch.
Okay? So we'll move on. Next is going to be the senior executive team monthly update. Mr. Morales.
For the senior executive team monthly update, would like to start off with our monthly employee recognition. So our chief deputy clerk, Nicole Jacobs, has done a really great job at talking to our city clerk. You know, there's a little bit of a hiccup. We got the absentee ballots dropped off within, was it 1 day of the statutory deadline, which left very little time to turn around and prepare those ballots for this election. And Nikki was able to get out approximately 300 ballots on time and within requirement. That's a lot of extra work that really ordinarily would not occur. So we just want to say thanks on behalf of the city to Nikki Jacobs for her role as the chief deputy clerk this month, prepping for the election. In the upper left quadrant for budget and finances, you can see that we've completed some of our 2026 budget preparation planning. Will continue after the audit, which began this week. We will be looking at the strategic plan for the future of to date in the historic district. We did have a meeting with the Historic Preservation Commission this month, so I anticipate we'll gain some momentum there. And you can see that we're evaluating GHD contract for the Superfund sites, and I would expect that to be an April agenda item. Moving to the upper right quadrant, no change to what we briefed last month. These administrative policies are something that we are still working on. In the lower left quadrant, we've started organization assistance efforts for the staff on the Citizen Ordinance Committee. And then we're really focusing on two operations right now. Operation Welcome Home to Housing, which we will be discussing Project East Monowa Street later this evening. And then Operation Phoenix, we made some good headway there for the downtown revitalization effort. We have been working with the DNR to apply for some technical assistance grants, and where that has kind of ended up is we will be working with, it looks like Kansas State University will be helping us do basically market research analysis and community engagement surveys for the downtown area to help us kind of with the property owners that have the properties in the fire and those that even don't, right? So we can kind of come up with a unified concept for some downtown revitalization. So very excited there because that concept is the first step to really doing that the right way. And then moving on to the right, you can see the different events we have for city operations over the month. Pending any questions, that's what I have for the senior executive team monthly update.
Nick, I do have a question.
Yep.
And apologize in advance for the short notice, but we had the opportunity today to host U.S. Congressman Derek Van Orden at the D.C. Very good visit to share our impact on the community as one of the largest employers. So very happy him and his team were able to stop by. They had indicated they were going to meet with the mayor and the city following our visit. Just wondering how that meeting went.
I'm not tracking that meeting.
I met with him for just a few minutes because I was down La Crosse with the truck and I didn't get back at the exact time I was supposed to. So we are going to reschedule that meeting for next week, and I will offer a written report to everyone.
Perfect. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for the senior executive team report?
Just a comment, and it kind of refers to the housing projects. Tacoma Public Housing issued checks today to the city for just shy of $38,000 as payment in lieu of taxes. That brings the total contributions to the city budget to over $50,000.
Was there a question or just a
comment?
statement? Comment.
Just-
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so you might as well stay right there because we're going to go to the ED's Economic Development and Zoning monthly update.
Yep, so upper left quadrant, we talked about Welcome Home and Operation Phoenix. For Operation Clean Toma, we're continuing to evaluate the City Detect software program, and we're looking to potentially onboard a code enforcement officer here within the next month. We did training on parliamentary procedure and the iWorks permit and code enforcement tracking system, and we're working through that. In the upper right quadrant, you can see the recently completed operations. And then in the lower left quadrant, you can see that for March, we don't have a whole lot of events stacking up there because we're really turning focus towards zoning and code enforcement right now. And then in the lower right quadrant, we have the plans that are out there. Working with Vanderwall and Associates, we're looking at a ordinance amendment, and then working with Parks and Rec on the Parks and Open Space Plan. Pending any questions, that's all I have for the department report.
Question.
Yes.
At the planning commission, you had an agenda item on the storage container fees.
Correct.
What was the result of that at the commission?
It was just a discussion item.
Just a discussion?
Correct.
Table?
Does that answer the question?
It was tabled.
Good.
That was, I was just curious what the results were.
No result. That's it for the monthly report.
Okay.
And then you have the permit report.
Yeah, monthly permit.
Pending any questions, standard report. Good.
We're good.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
So we'll move on to public safety, fire and EMS report, annual report. Chief Adler,
Good evening, everyone.
good evening.
I will be respectful of your time this evening. Just got a few bullet points I'd like to talk about. First of all, on my annual report, Toma Fire responded to 398 calls, and I know that's in your report. I just wanted to reiterate that that's up 55 calls from the previous year, and we're up 249% over the last 10 years for our call volume, and up over 500% in the last 20 years. So you can continue to see that the service is growing, and the need is there, and things are changing as the city grows. So another fun fact is that the City of Toma Fire Department is the cheapest fire department in the state of Wisconsin per our population. So we all work very hard to try to keep our budget down, and we try to do the best that we can through fundraising and things to help the efforts there. Hope everybody acknowledges that. So every year, this time of the year for our annual report, I like to just reach out to all the businesses, number one, that help supply the safety educational materials to the school district for Fire Prevention Week. Why is that important? Because it's a budget of over $10,000 every year that I don't have to come and ask you folks for, and it's paid for by the businesses of Toma, and I think that's very worthy of noting and making sure that people realize that the community out here is supporting us in our mission of keeping people safe and supplying them materials to the school district. So again, the last thing I'm going to note here, as for the fire department, is a huge thank you to the businesses itself, the employers, and the families that allow our firefighters and rescue people to respond to our calls. Because if we didn't have the dedication and the employers that would allow our people to respond to these emergency calls, we would not have the service we do today. So a huge thanks to everybody on behalf of the city for that. On the EMS side, just wanted to note that last year we ran 380 calls more than we did the previous year, so we continue to get busier. Over the past 10 years, our call volume has increased 100%. So again, you can see the need of the service and the updates and the extra equipment and extra ambulance that we bought over the last couple of years, the additional staffing that we're putting on, just to be able to keep the service running and be able to keep people safe and get them to the next level of care, and that's what our mission is. So that's really all I had. I just wanted to hit on a couple bullet points for the annual report. I'll go right into my monthly report. I got a couple of updates here. As you probably all heard, last Tuesday on the 11th, we had a structure fire at 1221 Stoughton Avenue. The fire was ruled as undetermined, but we could not rule out the careless use of smoking materials. So the insurance company is working with the homeowner to see where that structure is going to go, so I'm not sure yet. EMS-wise, just wanted to inform you that we made 2 offers out of the 3 full-time positions that were approved last year. These 2 gentlemen will be starting in the first week of April. James Barloon and Jeff Kane will be joining the service, and we're still searching out in the pool for the 3rd hire out there yet. So other than that, the last thing I wanted to mention was Governor Evers released $25 million into the FAT funding program this year for EMS, and Toma Ambulance Service was awarded $70,649.70. Normally, we get about $7,000 annually, so we got a $70,000. We got quite an increase there. We're making a plan. There's certain requirements that we have to spend on certain line items, and then we'll have a big lump sum that we're kind of thinking that we're going to put towards the next remount that's going to happen in the fall. So, does anybody have any questions?
We got one out for remount right now, right?
6-7 is out until the end of May. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. We're going to move on to the library. Irma?
Hi, everybody. Just some quick things to share with you. We're still doing our Hot Reads for Cold Nights program. That runs until the end of March. If you have something to turn in for that, please bring it. We're also doing a seed giveaway, and we will continue doing that until the seeds are gone. On Thursday, we will have a Gardening for Beginners class, or anybody who wants to come. We have a master gardener doing the class. We will have seeds and little potting containers available for those people who show up. That's all I have for you tonight. I'm going to keep it short. I hope that next time, though, that I'm here, when you get my written report, that one of you asks me what is going on at the library, because I really look forward to coming here and letting people know we have a lot going on. We'll advertise it on the sign, but if we could also, somebody could ask what's going on, I'll keep it brief. Thank you. Any questions?
What was the time of the gardening?
Oh, I don't think I told you. I think that's 6 o'clock. Thank you.
Thanks, Irma. Okay, next is Pam with Senior and Disabled Services Department report.
Hi. When I started, I think I do about 1/4 of a report verbally than when I started. So I don't know how to pare it down much more. I do want to say two other things on that that weren't part of my report. That part wasn't. And the fact that when the former director didn't do reports, and when I started at the senior center, I had so many comments from people here and in the community. They had no idea all the things that happened at the senior center. So doing the reports does help that, for whatever, just that input. And you all read the report. How many of you caught the 2 new stats in my report? Don't show hands, I'm not doing this to embarrass you, but sometimes being up here and saying something brings the attention that the reading doesn't get, because there's 2 new stats in my report. Okay. For attendance, it was 1,688 in February, and volunteers was 214. That stat you guys are used to hearing me say. Men shed, socialization, and being able to feel like they're doing something worthwhile is very good for men who have retired. Men's Shed does address that to some extent. And so Men's Shed is next Tuesday, and it's genealogy. Somebody in the group was interested in their doing that. April, some of you might be interested in this. They're doing a micro beer brewing tour, and they changed the date to make that work. And so that's on April 15th instead of the 22nd, looking further ahead. And the people out in the public, if they're interested, anybody can join that. I don't like beer, but that sounds interesting. One of the stats I thought was interesting. We have a loan closet. As you know, medical equipment. In January, 19 out of the 24 days we were open was utilized for the loan closet. And 2 of those 24 days were a Saturday and a Sunday. that was special things and not open like to the public. So that's really 19 out of 22 days that the loan closet was utilized. And in February, 19 out of 24 days, and 2 Sundays and 2 Saturdays out of that, we had things going on that not necessarily was open to the public. So that's like 19 out of 20 days that loan closet was utilized. Sunday Funday in next month is Easter egg hunt and bingo. I'll just go through that, but there's lots of people out there that may be interested in that. The other stat I added was the donations we received, the days that were open. It's the same formula as the other one. And in January, 22 of the 24 days, we received donations. Now, these donations at the senior center could be cookies. They could, things for the 2 o'clock snack that we have every day. Or they could be for bingo bash. Or they could be in memory of somebody. It doesn't necessarily mean cash, but it's donations that help us save our budget in other areas that we don't have to go out and buy, say the cookies or whatever. And so January, like I said, was 22 out of 24 days we got donations, and February was 16 out of 24. And remembering that 24, 2 of those days were Sunday and 2 were Saturday. So it was really 19 out of 20 days. So I thought that was pretty awesome. And Employee Appreciation Day was this month, and we appreciated our employees at the senior center. Any questions?
I have permission to ask you one.
Okay.
Thought, the donations. I think it would be great if in your newsletter or your report, you maybe make a list of some things that you guys could use. I think that's helpful for the public to know what to bring. So
I can
just a
do that. Okay.
If not cash, what are you looking for?
Yeah. Thanks.
Yep.
I have to buy 3 yoga balls. There's something right off the bat there, and they have to have baskets to sit on when they do cardio drumming. So, yeah, that's a good idea. Thanks.
Thanks, Pam. Okay, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Item A is a special beer and wine permit application by Monroe County Sports Services for Budweiser Dairyland Supernational Truck and Tractor Pull on June 26th through the 28th of 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any other discussion?
I do have a question. Are these?
Oh, we got to do them all at once?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
B is special beer and wine license application by Monroe County Sports Services for Monroe County Fair, July 23rd through the 27th, 2025. Item C is Monroe County Sports Services extending hours of operation at the Monroe County Beer Garden on Friday, July 25th, and Saturday, July 26th, 2025 at Recreation Park. And D, approval of minutes from February 18th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to Common Council agenda items. Item 5, discussion of Toma Area School District Comprehensive Plan Amendment Request and Petition for Annexation.
We need a motion.
No,
for
It's a discussion item.
It's a discussion item.
It's just discussion?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
If Becky would like to make a comment, so.
Sure, I just wanted to let the council members know that next April, at the city council meeting, we will have a public hearing, which is required for a comprehensive plan amendment change. Part of that change would be the request from the school district for the change, which is for the zoning change of the property. I don't know, Nick, if you want to talk a little more to that, but it is a request to change the comprehensive plan, which right now our comprehensive plan labels that potential land as residential.
So yes, if you have more to offer, Nick, please.
I missed the first part of this. We're on item 5, the discussion.
Yep.
Okay. So there are 3 things happening here that are 3 separate things. And I'm going to try to be as clear about it as I can, not to insult anybody's intelligence. But there have been comments made in other forums. There have been things published out there, and not all of it is true. Okay, so there are 3 things happening here with the school district's request. Right now, they have submitted on 3 March 2025, number 1, a comprehensive plan amendment request. That is one thing, put it to the side. The next thing, the second thing that they submitted on 3 March 2025 is a petition for annexation. That is the second thing, put it on the table. Those are the 2 items that we are discussing here tonight. Those are the 2 items on which you may vote on 15 April. A third thing is, if those 2 things were to be approved and the land is annexed in, then it would be establishing zoning through likely a zoning change request. That has not been submitted. Okay, so we are just looking at the comprehensive plan amendment request and petition for annexation on 15 April. It is a discussion item only tonight. You cannot vote on it tonight. Now, what is the difference between those 2 things? I'm going to start with the petition for annexation because there is the most probably confusion about that one, right? Wisconsin State Statute, Chapter 66.0217, lists different types of annexation, different methods. We are not initiating this annexation. This is what is known as an annexation initiated by property owners. Because the property owners in the property to be annexed, 100% of them are petitioning for the annexation. This falls under the direct annexation by unanimous approval method in Wisconsin State Statute, Chapter 66.0217. The direct annexation by unanimous approval is unanimous approval of the property owners asking to be annexed in. As a result of it being a a direct annexation by unanimous approval, which it meets the criteria because it does not create a town island, and 100% of the property owners are initiating and asking for the annexation, then there is no public hearing requirement on the petition. There's no notice requirement or hearing requirement on that. It just requires a 2/3 majority vote by this body, City Council. Under Chapter 66.0217, you will be required to first take into account the advice of the Wisconsin Department of Administration. So the requirement of the property owners petitioning for annexation is that they submitted to our city clerk on 3 March their petition. They also had to submit a copy of that petition to the town of Tomah. That is the extent of the official involvement of the town of Tomah as a government agency in accordance with Wisconsin State Statute, Chapter 66.0217. They were also required to submit a copy of their petition with all relevant documentation to include land survey maps to the Department of Administration. They, within 20 days, so prior to 15 April, should be providing you all with their advice. You are, by law, not required to vote in accordance with their advice. You are only required by law to take the Department of Administration's advice into consideration. I will pause here for any questions on that. Okay, so the school district has submitted that petition. They're submitting the comprehensive plan amendment request as a separate item because prior to, and we will not go into details on a real estate negotiation because under Wisconsin state statute, a government agency engaging in real estate negotiations is entitled to closed session protections. But what we can say here is they are looking to see if this body acknowledges their request to change the future land use category from planned neighborhood to public and institutional, which would allow that third item later on to come into play, where it can be zoned institutional, as confidence that if they acquire the land, they have the flexibility to implement their strategic plan. There are representatives from the school district here tonight that can speak to that. I will not speak to their plan. You have my staff report on this discussion item, but I felt it necessary as your staff advisor to make it crystal clear what you are discussing tonight, what you are voting on in April. In 15 April, you will have a public hearing for the comprehensive plan amendment request only. The public will be afforded the opportunity by law to speak on the comprehensive plan amendment request. A separate agenda item will be the petition for annexation. My staff input to you as one of your senior advisors is that you look at the comprehensive plan amendment request in the terms and in the context of whether or not you would vote for the petition for annexation, because there is no point to changing the comprehensive plan future land use if the annexation is going to be denied. There's one kind of follows the other, if that makes sense. So that is what the discussion is, and that is kind of where we are. Does that answer the question, City Clerk? Yep. Can I answer any other questions for anybody while I'm up here? And again, I'm just trying to set the stage for the discussion. I will not provide a recommendation on this topic unless you demand one.
I have one question.
Yes.
So in the comprehensive plan request, there was a potential street that was going to be closed. When you said all the property owners involved, are then just the property that was going to be talked about in the comprehensive plan, or is it the adjoining?
So it is the land to be annexed into the city, all the owners of that land, right? So the owners of that land say, we want to annex into the city. That is why by state law, it's almost an entirely administrative process, except for you need to do a 2/3 vote to say, okay, we will accept you into the city. The reason for that is when they annex into the city, they now get city resources, right? Like sewer, water, all those things. To your question about whether or not the road is closed, that is what the public hearing does, is we put out notification requirements to surrounding property owners that can appear and speak to that.
I have a better question then. So a more clear question, what I'm asking is, are there properties adjacent to the road that would be absorbed that would be affected by the closure of the road that are not in the purchase?
Do the members of the school district want to field that question?
You can, I mean, you okay? Yeah. I guess I'm still.
So
I'm sorry, John, I
Take it
still-
up here, Mike.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So I think I know everybody, but I'm Mike Schneebico, the school board president. So I'm still not 100% sure.
So what I'm asking is, the road itself that's proposed to possibly be closed, if it's changed in the comprehensive plan and annexed. Are there property owners on that road that are not part of the sale that would have, are they gonna have access? Like, how are they gonna get to their house if the road?
So I don't think, I mean, the property itself is split by the, the road splits the Bailey property, the way I understand it, correct? 100%? Right?
Okay, that's
So
my
the,
question.
yes.
That's all I was asking.
Okay, yes,
I
so,
don't know
yeah.
If the road in question was,
I believe it's Goose Avenue, I believe is what it's is the name of it. And it's, both sides of it are part of the Bailey property as we're referring it to.
that's all I was asking.
Okay,
I didn't know if there's property owners that are gonna be affected by the
Okay.
closure of the road.
Okay, so you're good then. I don't think I understood the question, so I want to make sure the school district had an opportunity
Yeah, thank you.
to speak to it. Any other questions?
I have one. In the comprehensive on the 14th, are we going to have any discussion about who will pay for city sidewalk, street and gutter and that? Would there be any type of discussion on what the city's responsibility will be if that property is annexed in the city?
Yes, you can have that discussion. And you can have it now as well. So we put it on the item tonight as a discussion item, so you all can discuss it now without the pressure of having to vote on it tonight. Is to give you that additional time to have open discussion amongst yourselves without the added responsibility of making a decision in the here and now. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it in this packet, as far as my question? In the packet that we have here?
No, I don't believe we covered that specifically, so.
And another question I would have, and I don't know if this is the proper place tonight, if the school district is exempt from property taxes if it's annexed in.
Yes, the school district is a non-taxable entity. They would not pay property tax.
Therefore, if it's annexed in, and it's, I know everybody knows what the land is gonna be. And will it be mentioned that if it is annexed in and purchased, that property owners will be responsible for an increase in their property taxes once that school is built? I mean, that's just a discussion that people are saying and are concerned about. I think everybody knows that. That's why it turned out to be the way it did. But that's is that going to be discussion on April 14th?
It absolutely can be. It's whatever you all want to discuss.
Okay.
So I'm, submitted the staff report on some of the advantages and disadvantages. I can speak to procedurally and within Wisconsin state law, what you all will have to do to either approve or disapprove this, but I leave it up to you all to have open discussion on that.
The property tax impact would have no effect on the city for that property becoming non-taxable. It would have an impact on the town of Toma's taxes, because they would have less taxable property.
So, I have one more. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have one more discussion thing. So we're not on the school board, and it's a very popular topic, I'm sure, at the school board and with all the recent referendum and everything, but I received a lot of constituents getting a hold of me about this. So the impression that I get from the constituents and the public, just to share with the rest of the people here, is that the referendum was voted down, completely separate item, I understand, purchasing the property. But the impression that the constituents are coming to me about is that we voted no, how could they do it anyway still, So I just suggest to the school board people that are here, if you could get the word out, more transparency, where's the money coming from, what's the plan, there's a lot of information I've heard from school board people that are for it, that the people that are asking me the questions don't have the answers for. So the better communication you can get, it's gonna help, I feel, down the road, just my opinion, that when you go to do a referendum someday for a school, you might get a yes. But some people, like they feel like it's not transparent enough and you're gonna go ahead with the land purchase anyway, and you're moving forward with a project that was voted down as in its current state, that I don't want them to sink their heels in the dirt and say, oh yeah, we voted no and you still did it. You know, so there's this big, you have to do a really good sales job and just be very transparent and open with the people and completely open with things, the questions specifically they asked me about, well, how about the busing? I said, I am not the school. I don't know when you move people to the elementary schools. I don't know where the money's coming for all that. That's not what we're talking about here. I understand it's just getting the property to potentially build a school, changing the zoning in the comprehensive plan. And I do appreciate someone that came today talking about taxpayers, homes pay taxes, schools don't. There's not many places to build homes too. So, you know, I totally understand that. But anyway, I said enough, but more sales has to be done, I believe.
Can I, Mayor, can I speak on that?
If you
I have
really
a
must.
question, yeah, I do. Nick, I think this is for you. So, if the annexation is approved, and it is annexed in, and the school district builds the school, and we have to put in sewer, water, sidewalk, gutter, where's that money gonna come from?
That's the school district's responsibility as a developer.
I'm talking to Nick.
There's several different options. Alderperson Yorrington has mentioned one. It's something Director Arity and I have probably talked about conceptually and not within the finer details, and that is something that would have to be worked out with the school district, as it is with any property owner in the city when we have to do infrastructure improvements. And as we will discuss in closed session later, much later tonight, there are negotiations that we may potentially get into with another developer about who's paying for what infrastructure improvements. I think it's certainly an important part of the discussion, and I think it's also we have school district representatives here. So as I've stated, as the staff, this is their request and their petition, and some of those details would still probably yet to be worked out. Director Arity, would you say that's correct from our standpoint as a city?
Correct.
Does that answer your question, Alderperson?
Yeah, another question
Bader.
would be, will the city end up doing another assessment? I mean, we just did one in 2024.
Sure.
So, and I'm assuming this money, we would have to bond for if it came to us to pay for this street, sewer, water. So I don't think the city has the funds available without bonding, I'm sure. So, my question, I guess, would be, we're not looking at reassessment on property value, on property, in order to make this work.
That's not been a discussion item. I think going back to your question on who pays for what, again, we have representatives of the school district present here tonight, and that is certainly a fair question of the organization that is asking and making this request. At the end of the day, as a city staff employee, I implement the policy that you guys vote on, plain and simple.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have one comment, and I have had a conversation with Mike Janevico today. Called him, we talked, what, 20 minutes, Mike? There,
Yes.
give or take. So, he knows my concerns, as far as, the annexation. We will lose tax base if the school district gets their annexation pushed through. I'm not against schools. I'm not against a new school. I'm not against purchasing the land. I'm not against, per se, annexing the land into the city. But my concern is that we're getting the cart ahead of the horse. And anytime you get a cart ahead of the horse, it's harder to push the cart than it is to pull it. So I just would like everybody to understand that on my point, I would like to see more transparency from the school as to what their exact plan is. I think they came here a little bit unprepared as far as laying out the groundwork, the streets, the curb and gutter, the sidewalks, all of that stuff should have been an issue that we talk about prior to any of this discussion going further, as far as I'm concerned. I, as the mayor, I need to know what we are going to be responsible for, because that is my job, is to watch the budget. And we cannot do something that will jeopardize the city. We need concrete numbers. We need to know who's responsible for what. That's my position, and that's how I'm going to leave it. Go ahead, Richard.
Just a point of information as far as history. I don't know how many of you here remember Toma School District purchased a property on ET many years ago with the intent to build on it. Today, there's still no structures on it.
Are you referring to the soccer fields?
Yes, sir.
Just clarify that for other people.
Question for probably Nick. The reference was made that by annexing this land into the city of Toma, we would lose tax base. My question is, what are we getting tax revenue from that property today?
We don't get anything from that property. Does that answer the question?
Yep. It's only potential tax base.
Correct. Does that answer the question?
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Does somebody from the...
I have a question for the clerk. The vote on the acceptance of the 2/3, that it requires 6 or 3/4, right?
Yes, so there are 8 members of, the 8 voting members in the council, so 2/3 times 8 would be 6. You would need 6 out of 8 in order to have a 2/3 vote.
For the petition.
And am I also...
For the petition.
For the petition.
Am I also correct if a member is absent, that's considered a no vote?
I would have to look that up.
I know it was that way with county, and I would believe it is by statute.
I will make sure I'm giving you the correct answer before I say, and I'll be sure to get back to you on that.
I guess I would ask if Dr. Hanson or Mike would like to address any concerns that have been brought up. This is the time for the discussion. And,
Yeah, so I can make a couple quick comments. Several things. Obviously, the referendum failed, and it was a massive one, and we understand that. And I hope that people are able to keep the two things separate in the fact that we're not, asking for that referendum again. But part of what happened during the entire process was we were constantly asked where's this going to go? I'm not voting until I know where. And so that was part of the process of going through the purchase of property that we thought. So we looked at. We sent out, I think it was over 50 different letters to landowners in the Toma area that were possible, maybe, sites for schools. We got quite a few back that were potential, maybe I would sell or maybe I wouldn't. We narrowed it down to a handful that we looked a little bit deeper dive into and tried to look. And several of those either had absolutely zero infrastructure even close. So like you're alluding to, the sidewalks and things like that. Some of the other properties that were narrowed down were worse than this. Like there was no infrastructure anywhere near them. And there were a couple other ones, or at least one other one that the committees and boards felt were not real safe for student traffic, bus traffic, things like that, with some other businesses that were nearby and things. So that it got narrowed down to this one that we just felt was pretty much as good as it gets for the school district as far as potential land goes. So that's when we started that whole kind of process of buying this. So then the only way we can purchase land is if it goes at our annual meeting and it's voted in by the voters that are at that meeting. And at our annual meeting in August, I believe it was voted to be approved that to give us the authority to buy it if it fit, all the things that it needed to fit. So it was voted through at that time by the people that attended that meeting. As far as where the funds would go to, or come from, to purchase this, it would come from our current fund balance. So it would not be any kind of another referendum type thing or anything for the land purchase. It would come out of a fund balance that is specifically set aside for land purchases or building improvements. So that land would just come out of that fund balance and be paid for at that time. So it would not be any kind of a burden on any kind of taxpayers or anything in addition, just for the land purchase. So we just feel that this land fits kind of everything that we feel could be possible for a future site. We know that there's a lot of work to be done, John, to address items that were misconstrued or misunderstood or not relayed as well as they should have been. We totally own that. We understand that, and we are in the process of starting to build those up better and work on that. That's probably number one on my priority right now. Going forward, and we just felt that this land would be something for the future, whether it's 2 years from now, maybe when, like we discussed today, maybe conditions right now are not amazing for building materials and things like that. Obviously we have tariffs, we have crazy things going on above us, beyond us. So right now maybe the environment is not correct, like you said. But what we're going to do now is go back sort of to the drawing board and kind of come up with some kind of a plan. We don't know where committees and things take us. Maybe it's an elementary school. Maybe it's another building, to take care of some other needs. But down the road, if we are able to do an elementary school possibly or something, that would potentially close a couple of the buildings in town that then we would be able to look for, that those would open up for, potential residential tax base and things like that as well when those get sold and things. So a few things I want to hit on, I guess, so that might be it. You have another question? Yeah.
I do. I have I have 3 questions.
Okay.
And these are just my thoughts right now.
Okay.
Speaking. So, from my understanding, that the school district actually has land. I'm not sure if it's within the city of Toma.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can I answer that one?
That's my first one.
Can I answer that one really quick? So we basically have 3 pieces.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can add to a 4th piece. We have one that's beyond Warrens. Okay. It's a school forest that's beyond Warrens. Okay. We're not going to build another building beyond Warrens. Okay. There's another one that's towards Sparta. It's closer to Sparta than closer to Toma. We're not going to build there. So we are in the process of trying to sell those. Those were gifted to us or deeded to us years ago, a long time ago, and they've basically been ignored because it potentially could be used for forestry projects or something like that, maybe within the school or something, but it's just not real conducive to education right now. So we are in the process of trying to sell those. So that was another part of the wheel, is that we could hopefully sell those and recoup some of the cost that we would be spending on this other piece.
And the question I have on that one would be, if you sell the land, where would the money go? Back into the school district?
Where would it go into the school district?
Where would that money?
I mean, it's only me, here tonight, so we would have to, but I'm assuming that would basically go back into the same fund balance, correct? Yep, so that would go in, it's what we refer to as fund 27. So it would basically go into the one that we're basically that we would be taking out to purchase this other piece. The other two pieces that we have is we have one that's along the VA, and that has a little building on it that we refer to as the Wolf Den, and that is used for some of our science classes and a few other things like that. It's kind of like a Boy Scout type place that we still do use, and the rest of that property is not conducive to a school building. It's got some wetlands very close or cutting through it or things like that. So for now, we're just gonna hang on to that and keep the Wolf Den there and things like that. The other piece we have is the soccer field. You are right, which referred to as the Steinhoff Fields, which was purchased before my time there. And that currently has the soccer fields right now. But that's not saying that we couldn't look into that. So it's not big enough for a high school and campus. It's not big enough for an actual high school campus. But it potentially could be for like an elementary or something. You are correct.
It was initially purchased to be a middle school.
Okay. Okay.
I'll ask a follow-up question.
And I go back to Nellie eventually too, but yep.
My second question would be, is that land been surveyed?
It's in the process of it right now. We're in the process of it right now, and it has to pass all of those things in order for us to continue to purchase it. So the soil testing is taking place and is being surveyed and things like that. So if any red flags come back, we do have the ability to pull out of the purchase.
Are you gonna have that completed by the public hearing on the 14th?
Do we know?
Not sure by the 15th.
Probably not by the 15th.
Investigation process will be done, so.
It'll be done?
Probably not. He said probably not by the 15th. It would not be, the full reports would not be in by the 15th.
That would be good to have at the public hearing, so we know that that land's been cleared, because there's a lot of wetland on that acreage out there.
Okay.
So that would be really nice to have, so that it would make our decision a lot better, easier to determine if that land is buildable.
Okay.
And then my last one would be, would the school district considered, and you just mentioned about selling your property, the other properties that you have, if and when, if it's approved, that maybe you, as the school district, can maybe contribute some of that money to build streets, sewer, gutter, whatever the city needs to do to make that school,
I understand.
Correct.
Correct. Yes, I totally understand. Yes.
That's a conversation that I think you and the school board or whoever needs to have.
I get that, and I absolutely get that. And I was, it's a piece I guess I didn't absorb as hard as I should have, coming to obviously to you guys, because that's the hat you all have on here.
At the end, I mean, it's, you're tax exempt if the land goes through, and if it is approved, then it's gonna be the taxpayers that's gonna hold the bag on all this.
So,
My last comment.
could I make a comment on that? On the very basic plans that are on our packet, it kind of shows that you're meeting up to the both roads that are currently there already. So I would assume that the school district would take the bill for any roads that are on that property that they are building for their school.
Again, I haven't delved in that deep with our, I was assuming, when you were starting to draw this all in, and maybe I'm speaking out of place here a little bit, I honestly just figured it was our bill to pay. I honestly thought that was just part of it. I do not understand. I mean, I don't know. Do you know?
Mr. Chairman, I don't know at this time, but certainly when you put together a plan for a brand new school, all of that architectural work would go there. So right now, it would be very cost prohibitive for us to say, let's go ahead and design a school, all of the mechanics, everything that goes into it. That would be an extraordinary sum for us. So what we are doing is putting that pathway together for us to be strategic in what we'd like to do. The land is purchasable. We do have the funds for that, and then we can grow from that place going forward. So I would absolutely imagine that if and when that time comes for a physical plant to be on that property, all of those questions would be answered within the development and construction process.
Kurt, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I'd like to jump in whenever.
You want to come out? And then I'll go back to, yep. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Who do you want, me?
You said at the August school district meeting, they approved the purchase of that property.
They gave us the authority to purchase it if we saw fit.
My follow-up question to that is, how much publicity was available to the public that that was going to be an agenda item, other than just posting your agenda?
That's required by statute to be in the newspaper, so it goes to our newspaper, also on our website. So all statutory obligations for posting notice for that meeting were met, and I would say we had over 75 people there. We average about 7 per year.
I just want to make one thing, sorry. From my understanding, you don't have a date planned for breaking on ground for a new school. This is just.
Oh yeah, no, we are nowhere near that.
Yeah,
So this is 100% just one step in our strategic planning, basically, that we would be able to get a chunk of property that then we can all sit down, we can start having community, groups again, getting people to come in and say, where are our needs at? What do we really need? Okay, we have the land. What do we need?
It could be 3 years, it could be.
It could be, yeah, exactly. You are 100% right. It could be 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 years down the road, We would have to get to that point where we first come up with a plan, as you're all suggesting, that's a very comprehensive plan, now that we would have the property, and we could come in and say, this is what it would cost for the city that we were going, and we would have to garner the public support enough to get that. The referendum would have to pass at that point before we would be anywhere near getting to a groundbreak type of thing.
So with the purchase of the land, you're not building a school?
No.
It's a possibility of building a school in the future?
Absolutely. It's just an investment to the future.
That's all I have.
Okay. Kirk, yet?
So I just wanted to add to what Nick said. There's a lot of, obviously, options that you can come up with in the developer's agreement. But the school district is subject to our taxing authority for assessments. So we will be able to assess them for those infrastructure improvements if dependent upon the timing.
I'm not sure I understand.
We can make them, as you see in the packet that's coming up for the final assessments for property owners for infrastructure improvement, for curb, gutter, sidewalks, they are subject to that as well. So
So in other words, you're saying they have to pay for it?
Well,
say what?
it will be a taxpayer paid thing.
No, the school will pay that assessment for those.
I get it, Kirk, but the school is funded by taxpayers.
I'm just trying to qualify.
I just want it to be upfront.
They're subject to our assessments. They're subject to our ordinances that specify that they pay for the infrastructure for that development, just like anybody else coming in. What Public Works is doing, we have allocated in that area to the south in our 5-year plan for all of those streets to be redone. It's about an $8 to $10 million project that we have in our 5-year plan. What we're trying to do to make sure that we don't put in a new street and then tear it up is work on the northern end away from this potential project so we don't have that duplication of efforts. Just
Waste the money twice.
yeah, just so you know, I'm not for or against this, whatever. I'm just telling you those facts.
But the bottom line is regardless, the city, if we do the 5-year plan, we're still gonna have to pay for it by tax, property tax. I'm just trying to understand.
The city is not responsible for it, but yes, Tolman Area School District will be responsible for it.
Tolman Area School District is funded by taxpayer dollars.
I'm just explaining
Just so it's
what our
clear.
plans are there.
Two different budgets.
We're
Two
trying to-
different budgets, but
Still the same payer.
it's us that pay. So I don't want people to think that there's money is coming magically out of the air. People need to be understanding that taxpayer dollars are still gonna fund this project, come hell or high water. So
The other question is whose?
that's to be discovered later. But is there any other discussion on this issue? Otherwise, Becky's got an answer for the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So there are two different agenda items that are planned to be on the April 15th meeting. That's the 15th. The first one is the comprehensive plan amendment changes, which is the one that has the public hearing.
Simple majority.
So that is a simple majority vote as long as the council goes with the planning commission's recommendation. If the city council wishes to go against the planning commission's recommendation, a 2/3 majority would be required. So that is 2/3 based on Robert's Rules of Order, 2/3 of the members present. That's how that one would work. Now, the annexation is a different story. The Wisconsin statutes require a 2/3 majority of all elected members of the city council, regardless of who's in attendance. So you would need 6 votes regardless of who is in attendance that night.
That's on the annexation.
That's on the annexation.
No absent vote is a no.
The absent, no, they would need 2/3, you would need 2/3 to vote.
They have to be here.
Correct, they would have to be here to vote, but you would still need 2/3 regardless of attendance that night.
Sure.
Does that
So
answer
if 3
your
people
question?
don't show up, they can't be passed.
Correct. Thank you.
What time is this on the 14th?
The city council meeting will start at 6:30 as usual, however,
On the 15th.
there will be 15 minutes before the meeting, we will be swearing in the newly elected leaders that were the successfully elected after the April 1st election. So we will have that 15 minutes prior, and then the meeting won't actually start until after they're sworn in at 6:30 as usual.
So before we move on, is there any other discussion that anyone would like to bring forward at this time?
Can I say one more thing?
I'll recognize it.
Motion
I'll second it.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. You get to speak. This is Vaughn Keel.
Yeah, I'm Vaughn Keel. And one more thing, that I used to live on a cranberry marsh, and we always had classes on wetlands, and we were informed that cities have a little more leeway with wetlands. And that may be why somebody's trying to push this through before all the tests are done. That was what they taught us, and it was a state speaker, so that's something to think about. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll close that portion of the meeting out, and we're gonna move on to agenda item 6, approval of draft easements.
You have a couple of proposed easements. There are typical utility easements for when we do our water sewer. There's a project on King Avenue. There are 2 property owners, the Wernicke and Dickey property, that we would like to earmark for getting easements done. I've been in contact with both of them, but one, Mr. Wernicke had communicated back to me, he had some modifications and changes, I think all of which are reasonable. I have not spoken with Kirk Garrity or Nick about, or the team, about what those changes are, but I don't see them being difficult. We wanted to get them before you to get some authority to allow myself as well as Kirk Garrity set team approval to move forward in negotiating final versions of that, to allow those to be signed so that this King Avenue project won't be held up and we have our easements done. So that's what we're looking for, is a motion to authorize.
Is this property that, okay, not sure.
There are, on both of those properties, there is a current water sewer that was done back in 1970s. So they didn't need any, they didn't do easements back then. Unfortunately, I wish that we would have more, but, so they didn't. And so what we're trying to do is clean that up. So it's really replacing the current water sewer project out there. Am I saying that right?
The sewer.
On King Avenue. Just the sewer?
Yeah.
Okay. So in doing so, we would secure an easement for those improvements along the areas that are described in that document, so.
Go ahead, Kurt.
So,
I just here for questions if something comes up.
so Kurt, this has already been a project that we approved and money is allocated and all that stuff.
The contract has been awarded.
Okay.
This came up just recently that we didn't have proper easements for the utility
So we have the
replacement.
money.
Yeah, we don't anticipate a cost with these easements.
Yeah, no.
So,
I'll make a motion to approve the negotiation of the easements to move forward.
Second.
So bear with me here, just so we're all on the same page. I would like the authorization. Sorry, Becky. Working on it? Okay. Oh, wait, ready? Ideally, to authorize my office with city leadership to finalize the easement drafts and negotiate in the best interest of the city, and then permit the mayor and the city clerk to sign on behalf of the city. So the documents you see in part are not gonna be substantively modified, but there might be some minor tweaks here and there that would certainly, we wouldn't negotiate something not in the best interest of the city. So I'm just asking, you're not gonna be approving the documents as written, just authorizing us to make those tweaks and allow them to sign. Does that make sense?
Yep, I'll make the motion to have the city attorney's office together with the department head to finish the negotiation and then to authorize the mayor and the city clerk to sign the finished
And I'll second
documentation.
so we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on this?
I have a question. Is, and maybe maybe Kurt could answer it, easement, that's just the same as granting access, right? Or another word for access to it?
I would say there's more rights with the easement than there is.
Right, because in it, if you look at the words, it's all of the above, installing, constructing, maintaining, you know, and so we can have it located on their property and have that be there forever. So that if we have to go back and fix a spot, we don't have to ask for permission, it's right there in the easement. And it's a document that's
It allows
recorded.
us to maintain.
It's recorded with the Register of Deeds so that it shows up on title, so we have a right
to be there.
to be there.
Okay.
Okay?
And the easement is transferable as far as ownership of it.
Well, sure,
Sure.
for them, not an issue. It also addresses issues like indemnification. If somebody that's working on that property, we're responsible if someone gets hurt, not the property owner, right? So there's certain rights that are in there that's required, which would make them feel okay with giving us this easement. It also benefits their property because it's the water, sewer, et cetera, so.
Okay.
So who owns the property we're talking about down in?
Two of them,
King Avenue?
Nancy Dickey Trust and Mr. Warnicki, Greg Warnicki.
That's the ones down by King Street too, or is that the one?
They both are. This is the King Avenue
The extension of
property
King
extension.
Avenue.
From Ottawa to 16.
Correct, it's unimproved right now.
It's unimproved.
That runs alongside the city shop stockpile, right?
Correct,
Between it and Sonnenberg's.
correct.
Is there any further discussion? If not, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 7 is award of Lake Toma 4-bay cleaning.
Make a motion to approve.
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
that's without the alternate bid. That was included.
Correct. Correct. The alternate bid was not approved. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. We're going to go on to item 8, final assessment approvals, and I think that's May Street, West Veterans, and
East Juneau
East Juneau.
and the intersection.
of ET and 12.
Correct.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Number 9 is approval of facade improvement grant program application 1-2025, which would be, can't think of the name of the place.
Crowbar.
Crowbar. So,
Motion to approve.
Second.
motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
I think that's a great improvement for the property. But I'm still going to vote no.
Nick, you have something to say?
If I could just make sure that if the members approve, the motion reads as written in the staff report. That'll help with future issuance if approved.
Yes, I agree. So, just I approved the facade improvement grant program application 1-2025. Oh, motion to approve facade grant improvement program application 1-2025's request for a maximum reimbursement of $5,265 or 75% of the total project cost, whichever is less.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Item 10 is acceptance of February 18, 2025 spring primary election tally report.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, ordinance creating Division 3 of Article 7 regarding the Toma Convention and Visitors Bureau, first reading.
Motion to waive the first verbatim reading.
Second.
Motion to waive first reading and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Looking for a motion to waive the second reading.
Motion to waive the second reading.
Was there a vote on it?
Second.
I don't think there was a vote, so, right?
There was a vote.
Yeah, the
we
first
voted.
vote, we voted. You're losing. So,
This is water in here, so
I
it's
make a
okay.
motion, I make a motion
Sure
to
it is.
waive,
It's vodka.
I make a motion to waive the second reading.
I'll second.
Motion by Glenn. I'm sorry, who's second?
I'll second.
Dean.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second to waive the second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion to adopt and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 12, resolution for payment of monthly bills.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Yes, sure.
Getting slow?
Yep. I'm sorry.
You just,
Alderperson Pater, did you make the motion for that, the resolution for bills? And send it to you?
Sure.
Thank you. All right,
are we good now? Okay. Item 13, concession agreement, Winnebago Park Kayak Rental Program.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Kale, second by, all in favor?
Discussion?
Oh, discussion, excuse me.
Penny, did you look this
I
contract up?
did, actually, we
And
made
it
some
looks okay?
amendments. Yep, we made
Okay.
some amendments and they accepted them, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. So we're going to adjourn into closed session pursuant Wisconsin statute 19.85, subparagraph 1.
Any motion for that? I make a motion to move into closed session.
Yes, second.
Motion and a second to move to closed session. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.